Hey, back. Stay. That's it.
Here he comes. Bear.
Most people think they'll hear a bear long before they ever see one. They imagine something massive, loud, obvious, impossible to miss. Something that gives you time to prepare. That's almost never how it happens. Bear encounters don't begin with warning signs or dramatic noise. Bears are apex predators. They move quietly. And by the time the silence breaks, it's usually because something enormous has already stepped into view. Too close, too fast, and fully aware of you. In moments like these, the human body is pushed to its limits. Thought disappears. Instinct takes over. In bear country, hesitation can be fatal. Freeze, and you become vulnerable. Run, and you may trigger a chase. Act, and you might survive. What you're about to see isn't staged, rehearsed, or planned. These are real encounters, captured in real time, where hunters and hikers suddenly realize they are no longer at the top of the food chain. Today, we're breaking down 5 bear encounters caught on camera. Each one unfolds in seconds. Each one shows just how quickly control can vanish. The second encounter takes place on a hiking trail, where 2 friends suddenly come face to face with a bear. The video opens already focused on the animal, standing directly on the path ahead and blocking their way. There's no buildup. The bear is simply there. The 2 hikers stop. You can hear them speaking to the bear almost immediately, telling it they have nothing to give and asking it to move on. Their voices sound tense but controlled. They're trying to keep the situation from escalating. The bear doesn't leave. It stays on the trail, watching them. The 2 friends talk to each other quietly, reminding one another to stay together and not back away too fast. They mention trying to look bigger, repeating what they've heard you're supposed to do in this situation. After a moment, the bear steps closer. They begin backing away slowly. One of them mentions rocks, not as a plan, but as a last resort if the bear decides to charge. Their voices grow louder now, more direct. As they try to keep the bear at a distance, the bear moves again. They shout, clap, and throw small rocks toward the ground in front of it, trying to discourage it without provoking it. The situation drags on far longer than expected. The bear lingers, watching, refusing to leave. For several minutes, nothing really changes. The bear stays. The 2 hikers keep talking, keep backing up, keep reacting to every small movement. It's not an attack, but it's not over either. Eventually, the bear begins to move off the trail. Slowly, the 2 friends don't relax. They keep their eyes on it, continuing to back away until it finally disappears from view. After the bear finally steps off the trail, the 2 friends don't wait around. They turn and move quickly in the opposite direction, increasing their pace with every step. What starts as a fast walk soon turns into a run. The camera shakes as they head back the way they came, breathing heavy, not stopping until they reach the safety of their car. Only once the doors are shut does the tension break. The encounter is over, but the adrenaline clearly isn't. What stands out isn't just the bear itself, but how long the situation lasted, and how close it came without ever turning into a full attack. This meeting didn't end with claws or teeth. It ended with retreat. And as the next encounter will show, sometimes walking or running away is the only reason an encounter ends at all. The third encounter mirrors the second in a crucial way. Once again, this isn't a hunter or an armed outdoorsman. It's just a runner, alone, unprotected, moving through the forest as part of an ordinary routine. No warning, no expectation of danger. Like the last encounter, the trail feels safe. The runner is focused on pace and breathing, not on what might be watching from the trees. For minutes, nothing seems out of place. But the wilderness doesn't announce itself when it decides to intervene. Then everything changes. A massive grizzly bear suddenly bursts out of the forest and launches across the trail in a single explosive movement. It doesn't charge the runner. It doesn't stop. It simply crosses his path. fast, powerful, and impossibly close. Unlike the previous encounter, this bear doesn't linger. There's no prolonged standoff, no drawn-out threat. But what it does show is something just as unsettling: raw strength. The bear clears the trail effortlessly, its body moving with a speed and force that leaves no doubt about what it's capable of. The runner freezes, panic flooding in as the realization hits. If the bear had chosen differently, if it had turned even for a second, there would have been nothing he could do. No weapon, no defense, no time to react. The bear vanishes back into the trees, leaving silence behind. And in that silence is the same truth as before. When humans enter bear territory unarmed, survival often comes down to nothing more than the animal's decision to leave you alone. The fourth encounter takes us much deeper into the wilderness and into a very different kind of situation. This footage comes from the YouTube channel Backcountry Alaska, run by Thomas, an experienced Alaskan hunter who documents life and hunting in some of the most remote terrain in North America. From the opening moments, Thomas explains the situation: a long moose camp deep in bear country. The hunt has just wrapped up, but the risk hasn't. A fresh gut pile from a recently harvested moose still sits nearby. Something every Alaskan hunter knows can draw predators in fast. For much of the video, the pace is calm. Thomas walks through sections of forest burned by recent fires, talking about how the landscape has changed. The trees are thinner, visibility is better, but that openness comes with a false sense of security. Later, Thomas and his father decide to walk back toward the gut pile to see if anything has been feeding on it. Tall grass surrounds them, limiting visibility once again. They both understand this is the most dangerous part, approaching a food source that may already be claimed by a bear. Then everything detonates. A grizzly bear bursts out of the grass and charges straight at them. This isn't a bluff charge. The bear's committed, head low, closing the distance fast. Gunshots ring out. One shot lands center mass. The bear keeps coming. More shots, shouting, chaos. The entire encounter unfolds in seconds, at a distance later estimated to be less than 20 yards. Unlike the earlier encounters, this one doesn't end with the bear choosing to leave. The bear goes down. In the aftermath, both men are visibly shaken. Their voices tremble as they confirm the bear's dead, and as they check repeatedly to make sure there isn't a second bear nearby, a very real danger around gut piles. As the adrenaline fades, they begin to reflect on what just happened. They explain why this encounter turned out differently. The rifle was already chambered, the scope was dialed down. They had talked through this exact scenario beforehand. Father and son, both calm, both prepared. They make one thing clear: without that preparation, this would likely have ended very differently. This was a defense of life and property shooting, legal, necessary, and still terrifying. Because even with experience, weapons, and planning, the margin for error was razor thin. The bear charged with full intent. And if even one thing had gone wrong, a jammed rifle, a missed shot, a moment of hesitation, there would have been no second chance. This encounter stands apart from the others, not because it's safer, but because it shows the absolute minimum required to survive a worst-case scenario in bear country. And even then, survival was never guaranteed. The fifth and final encounter brings us to a very different moment in bear country. After everything we've seen, charges, panic, split-second decisions, this one slows things down. It comes from a man named Drew Hammond, who captured this footage while sitting quietly along a river, fishing. There's no tension at first, no raised voices, no sudden movement, just the sound of flowing water and a man focused on his line. Then, almost unbelievably, a grizzly bear appears and simply sits down beside him. For nearly a full minute, the bear does nothing. It doesn't charge. It doesn't growl. It just watches. Calm, curious, fully aware of Drew's presence, yet choosing not to act. Drew remains still, understanding that in this moment, the safest move is no move at all. Eventually, the bear stands up and walks away, disappearing back into the landscape as quietly as it arrived. This encounter doesn't erase the danger we've seen in the others. If anything, it reinforces the real lesson behind all 6 videos. Bears aren't monsters, and they aren't predictable. Sometimes they charge, sometimes they flee. Sometimes they pass by without a second thought. The difference between survival and tragedy often comes down to context, preparation, and decisions made in seconds, or to choices made entirely by the animal. These encounters show just how thin the line is between peace and chaos in the wild, and how quickly humans can go from observers to intruders to prey. In bear country, you are never truly in control. You're only being tolerated